Thanks for the support as a channel member, Connor McLaughlin. Well, I don't know if I'm fully recovered from the events of the last few days, but here we are, Season 2 at Bayern Munich about to commence. But first, we need to spend some money. We're not going to spend as much money as we spent last time. And we've already got 2 of our transfers arranged, and we've only got £160 million left. So a reserved summer coming up, I think. Can I do a reserved summer? Hello and welcome to Club 5, Part 11 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we are going to do our summer season review and transfer special. As you can see, £160 million to spend. A lot bit of wage budget left over as well. So there is going to be some business. In fact, there is already some business already arranged. As mentioned over the last couple of episodes, we have 2 players joining us from Dortmund, plus the striker coming in from Real Madrid that was supposed to join us last summer, and I got it wrong. So these 3 already arriving. Drago Bartolec is a Croatian international, 20 years old. He's got 5-star potential, already 4-star current ability. Very, very good central midfield player. He's going to be joining us for, £69 million. Nice. And Tomoya Ohara is a 21-year-old German international winger, completes with Gashi on the right-hand side for Germany, and will now complete with Gashi on the right-hand side for Bayern as well. Offers some nice competition on that side. Does probably spell the end for Del Bueno, who, although he's got 5-star potential and is also German and is homegrown, he's got 2 under-23 German international 5-star right-wingers ahead of him. I think the future for Marco Del Bueno isn't looking good, both at club and country. He might be very good, but he's not world-class very good like the 2 who are ahead of him. And then this guy I actually forgot about, Luis Maria Porras, 23-year-old Spanish under-21 international. Scored lots of goals for the Spain under-21s. He was kind of a deadline day panic buy back in August. But looking at this, it looks like he's almost as good as the likes of Carlos and Thorgerson. So he's going to be a decent squad member to have around. Got 11 goals in Serie A last season for Lazio. I'll level with you. I can't imagine him being any good. But who knows? He might surprise us. So outside of those, I think all we really need is if we could find a 5-star goalkeeper, that would always be welcome. Ferron, as much as I like him, he's not quite of the same level as the likes of O'Hara or Thorgerson or Gashi, the players we've already got at the club who are really, really top level players. He's not quite at that level. So if we could find a goalkeeping equivalent of one of those, I'm always on board with that. And also fullback. It would be nice to have a 4th fullback because we've got Dombrowski, we've got Kryju, we've got Thumb. We don't really have much beyond that. We have got Eduardo, who we brought in last summer, he could quite easily be the 4th fullback in the squad if need be. He's got 5-star potential. 2.5-star current ability means he's nearly first team quality already, but he is a long way behind the likes of Kryju, Thumb and Dombrowski. It would be a significant downgrade having to play him. So maybe a real top quality player at fullback, maybe another top quality defensive midfielder to compete with Vermonti. I could spend loads of money. I'm going to try not to. But let's get into the season review stuff first of all. So the Bayern all-time best 11. There's not many of my boys in this. Theron's there. Thumb is there, interestingly, which is a strange one because I don't know that he ever fully established himself as first-choice left-back. There's probably going to be a group of people who think Kryju's our first-choice left-back, possibly me included as well. Kryju at left-back, Dombrowski at right-back, I think is probably my first choice, but Thumb is apparently the best Bayern Munich left-back of all time. The rest of the back 4 is not mine. Van der Hoek's in on the left-hand side, Marquez, Lust, and Tete, who went to Swansea at Christmas, and then Arp and Lewandowski up front. So there's a lot of my players who need to force their way into this team, and that's going to be a job for us to do this coming season. Our Player of the Year awards, Lust getting Player of the Year, 37% of the vote. I'm a little bit surprised with that. I would have thought it perhaps would have gone to Van der Hoek. It may be Vermonti. Vermonti got 3rd place in the Bundesliga Player of the Year behind O'Hara, who's coming in to join us. I think it was another Dortmund player who I've got my eye on, but I'm going to try not to sign. I don't want to just sign all the Dortmund players. as much as that would guarantee the Bundesliga if we did it. Vermonti, second place. Dombrowski, third place on Player of the Year. Thorgerson got goal of the season back in as recently as May. So this must have been one that was in a video, presumably. So I think we've all seen this one before. Let's have a little look at it to see what goal it was. And was it goal of the... I mean, it obviously is a goal of the season candidate, but I don't remember an absolute worldie late in the season, although if he's scoring from there, then maybe it was. Yeah, I'll allow that. Vermonti gets signing of the season. Cannot argue. We brought him in to be a key player. He's absolutely come in to be a key player. We knew what we were getting with Vermonti, and he absolutely delivered it. And Dombrowski, young player of the year. So team of the season, Ferron in goal. A back four of Thumb, Banfalvi, Tigges and Dombrowski. Vermonti at the base in midfield. Marquez and Lust ahead of him. Van der Hoek, Gashi, Thorgerson as our front three. There's not much of that I could argue of. I'd probably have Andre in ahead of Marquez. Although, in fact, no. I'd have Andre in ahead of Marquez as a starter now, but over the course of the season, Marquez probably gets the nod. And like I say, Krejci would probably be in that team ahead of Thumb if I were picking it. Van der Hoek, top scorer and 23 goals. Thorgerson's got to make sure that doesn't happen again this coming year. I'm expecting a 30-goal season from him. I think that's one area where we perhaps didn't perform to the level we could have done. Vermonti, top average rating, as we expected he would. Gashi, most assists. Vermonti, most pass completion, because he's Vermonti and he's awesome. Most man of the match is split between Dombrowski and Thorgerson. Vermonti, king of the Naughty Boys Club, and Burke and Thorgerson. I forgot all about Burke. Forgot he existed, but him and Thorgerson both getting sent off once. We met our expectations for the season. Even if the board are going to try and suggest we didn't, we were supposed to compete for the Bundesliga. We absolutely did. We got the trophy in our hands, finishing runners-up in the Bundesliga, runners-up in the Champions League, and winning the German Cup. We were supposed to get to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, so overachieved there, met target there, overachieved there. All in all, good season. Expectations for this coming season. All this stuff looks like it's remained unchanged, so still a focus on players who are German or based in Germany and young players. It's all about building that next generation Bayern Munich team, which we've pretty much already done. It's just adding to that now. They're still looking to maintain the best youth system in the world, still looking to build a new stadium, which, see, to me, I still maintain most of that's outside of my control. I know I've since learned that I have to push the buttons to tell it to do that, but that's board stuff. This is the stuff that's for me, and we do have to win the Bundesliga this year, and a minimum expectation that we get back to the Champions League final again. So it's going to be a very much a make or break season. We need to do everything we did last year, but then take each one that one step further and actually come away with the treble. It's going to be a challenge, but we're hopefully not going to have the slow start this season. Without the slow start, we win the Bundesliga, and with that extra year of experience, we win the Champions League. So I think we have got a big chance of winning everything this coming season. Lust, Ferron and Van der Hoek are our team leaders, which all of them still regular starters, so there's no need to fiddle with any of that. Tigges is desperate to get into that group, and as soon as one of them moves on, he will. But we're a way away from that happening because they're all relatively young. End of season team meeting. And we're going to passionately say we're winning the title next season. Everyone is on board with that. We're coming in with one goal and one goal only. Win everything. We have players in the Champions League Dream 11. Theron, Krejci. I thought that was one of ours, but that's not. That's Arthur at Manchester United. So many Barcelona players in there. It does make me feel a little bit better about losing to them in the final, that they had so many of the best players in the tournament. Good to see Wesley Fernando and Van Houston and Hudson-Odoi as former Kev players in there as well. And Leonard's one I tried to sign at various points. So I've got my finger on the pulse. I like it. Top goalkeeper, Allison winning it. Ferron second, Francisco third. Again, I know what I'm talking about with goalkeeper. I keep saying I want a better goalkeeper, but they're the two that I picked. Because even Ferron, although he was here at Bayern when I arrived, I was trying to sign him for Tottenham before I arrived to replace Francisco. But Francisco is consistently one of the best goalkeepers in the world. So I don't think there is such a thing as a five-star keeper out there. I doubt Allison is because he's an old man now. 38%. He's a two-star keeper at best. So I think we already have one of the best keepers around. there just isn't a 5-star keeper in the game, which always seems to be the way in my saves. Defender of the season, Banfalvi got runner-up for that. Midfielder of the season, we didn't have a representative there. Striker of the season, again, no representative there. So I think that just means we need to be a little bit better going forward next season. The one other thing to look at on the season review is not Patreon youngsters. We haven't done that for a year. Channel member youngsters, because we have got a couple now, as we've got such a good youth system here at Bayern. There are a couple of people who claimed some of the youngsters. So we'll just have a look at those. Todd Thomas has got this guy, 15-year-old German 5-star potential goalkeeper, whose previous name, by the way, Killian Killer. What a name. Todd, you've ruined that for everybody. To be fair, he did say, I'll leave him as Killian Killer if you want. But Todd, I would have just forgotten he was your player if I didn't change the name. And then William Espy takes this striker who's also German, also 15, also 5-star potential. So we'll keep an eye on those two as the save progresses. But there are some good youngsters knocking around here. I forgot we had Marcos on loan. He'll be going back to Spurs. But Pereira, who's been out on loan all season, he's a 3-star quality player, apparently. He's going to come back in and maybe force his way back into our first team mix. Although that's a much more difficult task than it was when he left. And there's obviously him and Rex Epi, I guess, as potential backups on that side. We've got the new striker coming in, so I mean, really, Juanma Albert should be the man who's getting the opportunity, not this young lad coming in from Real Madrid. I might just try and sell him on straight away without playing him. I don't think we need him anymore with this guy coming through. On the right-hand side, we know Del Bueno is there. Central midfield, I'm sure there are young players, but Mocha is probably the one as a new defensive midfielder coming through to compete with Vermonti, already 2.5-star player. There's an argument for not signing a lot in the way of players now because there's so much good youth coming through. And at the back, we've got Banfalvi and Tigges, who are brilliant, and then Guerrero and Haman, who are both young. And Guerrero, I've been talking about him being young for years. He's 25 now. It might be time, if there's another youngster, to move Guerrero on. Marcos, obviously, is already going to be doing that. We don't actually have another top centre-back coming through, though, so we'll keep that for this season, I think. And then this is what I was saying about fullbacks. Krajju, Thumb and Eduardo that side. Dombrowski, Krajju, not much else. This other line, Merker, the young defensive midfielder, can play right back. There's not much of a case for bringing in the likes of Jair, which I know we all want me to. I certainly want to. I just don't see how he fits in. I think a goalkeeper is probably the one, because our backup goalkeeper, yeah, he's only 21, but he's also not got a huge amount of potential. So if we could find a really good goalkeeper, I'll do all that in a minute. Let's just go to the scouted players, and we want goalkeepers. Who have we got who's really, really, really good? Francisco. And I was literally a year ago at the start of summer trying to sign Ferron to replace Francisco at Spurs. So I don't think Francisco's the man to come in to replace Ferron at Bayern. There just isn't a good goalkeeper. I bet we've got the best keeper. 4-star seems to be the cap. I might not be signing anybody else. Let's just sort this by scout recommendation and just see what we've got in the way of players either based in Germany or who are German. We're signing the best one already. He's already coming in. If we just keep scrolling through, there's nobody else. The next one is this guy, Mauro Macagno, who's on loan from Barcelona, who is a striker who scored 18 goals for Leverkusen this year, but we don't need another striker. Although for 36 million quid for a striker who's as good as Thorgerson, you could argue, might not need him, but shall we just take him anyway? But he's not officially based in Germany because he's only there on loan. Bartolec is the next one. He's already coming in as well. And then, I mean, there's not much, is there? Oh, this is Florian Michel, is a guy I tried to sign back when he was at Schalke, I think, way back when. I think it was when I was still at Barnsley. I was trying to sign this guy. So he'd be a lovely player to bring in because he offers cover for Van der Hoek over there. Apparently there was a wasp, which is what that interruption was. But he'd provide some competition with Van der Hoek on the left-hand side, although not a lot, and some competition up front. See, that's the thing. I think, who knew, spending the amount of money we've spent, that there's not really much other spending we can do now. Unless someone decides they want to leave, I don't. He doesn't fit though at all. He's not going to come in on the right hand side, is he? We don't need him up front. So yeah, there's just no reason to sign Keith Crown. Similar to Jair, these are all players I'd like to sign just because it would amuse me to do it. There was a guy at Dortmund who I was looking at as a potential. This guy, I think. Yes, Bram Michels. He's another one I've been looking at for years, who, again, would provide us with competition for Van der Hoek on the left wing and competition up front, and would also take a 24-goal striker away from Dortmund because he's been there for years. He's another one I was looking at back when he was at Standard, but couldn't get him because he went to Dortmund instead. But he's just had his breakout season, age 26, I think he is now. So there's an argument for taking him off them just to spoil their fun. Told you it'd be a quiet summer. It's already the 30th of June. We've got a confirmed player leaving, Salimi, who never really got a chance. Was out on loan at Leipzig, played enough games to make his loan permanent, so he is going there for £28.5 million. Burke is also on the verge of joining Manchester United, and of course I have agreed to sign Michels, however you would say his name, from Dortmund. So as soon as we tip over to the 1st of July, all of those transfers should become permanent, and we can have a look at what's probably going to be the squad that goes into the season. I just don't see that we need to add any more to it. I know these are famous last words for me, but I genuinely don't know that we need it. Look, bless them. Look, Milan think they're going to start. Oh no, Inter and Milan both looking to bring in Ferron. Never going to happen. What a load of nonsense. Burke is going to be going to Manchester United. That deal he's agreed. It's just waiting for a work permit for him to go to United. These are all the players who apparently we're interested in. So we'll do a little bit of scouting of them just to see what the game thinks we should be trying to sign. But I think our squad is done with these signings we're confirming now. I don't see how we could sign anybody in the game and make this squad better. There's players who could maybe make the team better temporarily because we've got a lot of young players. So you could go and buy a 30-year-old who might be better on a short-term basis than some of these. But as long-term signings to build a squad that's going to dominate for years, this is your squad. So Porras is in. 23 years old, he comes straight into the squad as equivalent level striker to Michels, who was top scorer in Bundesliga last year. Carlos, we know how good he is, just behind Thorgerson and Gashi in that pecking order. O'Hara comes in on the right-hand side to apparently be even better than Gashi. I'll believe it when I see it, but he was the second best player in the Bundesliga last year, according to ratings and whatnot, and gets an A- as a sign-in. Bram Michels was the best player in the Bundesliga last year, according to ratings. Almost as good as Van der Hoek on the wing, almost as good as Thorgerson up front. 24 goals last year, top scorer in the Bundesliga last year as well. And importantly, of course, by signing him, we take him off of Dortmund. Same situation with both of those. And to a lesser extent, Bartolet, who's the one who's come in as a player for the future. This is why we can let Burke go, because he comes in same level of current ability as Burke, but 6 years younger, loads more potential, and for me, not a bad price either. It's a two-digit price. I don't remember the last time we only spent 2 digits on a player. So let's send them all on language courses, welcome them all into the club. I think we're about to see confirmation that the Burke deal has gone through or going through as well. We'll just do all of these first, and then we'll have a look at this squad and play a little game called Can You Spot a Weakness? This is going too well. We're going to absolutely crash and burn. I can sense it. But do we have the confirmation that Burke has gone to Man United? Juventus want for Monti. They are absolutely not going to get him. Wolfsberger after Albert. But at 17 years old with that amount of potential, they are having a giraffe. We don't need to worry about any of that just yet. So Burke's still officially here, but will be leaving during the course of today. I think it's today his work permit is due. But as you can see, we've got the current Bundesliga Golden Boot holder. He's our 5th best striker according to star ratings. That says a lot about our squad. We've got good strength in depth on both wings now. Central midfield is stacked. Defensive midfield stacked. You could say, oh, another 5-star centre-back would be nice, but absolutely not necessary when Haman is still only 22, getting better all the time. Huge potential to get better and better. We've got quality fullback on both sides. Yes, it would be nice to have a fourth out-and-out fullback, but Eduardo or Merker can both fill that role. And yeah, a backup keeper would be okay. We've still got over £100 million to spend. We're finally due to fail FFP. Right, let's have a look. That's actually an important thing. Oh, my word. So we've got to win everything this year. That's just exploded out of nowhere, hasn't it? Out of nowhere. We knew it was coming. So what we need to do... So it's over a 36-month period. We can only make a £4.3 million loss. Do we take the long-term view that's best for Dortmund, best for Bayern, and sell some players? Or do we take the short-term best for Kev view and make sure we win the Champions League this year, then run away, and it doesn't matter if we get a one-year ban then? I mean, long-term for the club, a one-year ban is not a big deal because these players are going to be here for 10 years. That's changed massively. Oh, I guess that's all of the transfer never stuff kicking in. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Right, there's your confirmation that Burke has gone to Manchester United for £37.5 million. So that, I'm just going to keep going back to this screen. It makes a little bit of a difference. Oh, we need them to go and get a £300 million mobile phone sponsorship deal. There's got to be shenanigans that the board can do to get us out of this mess. They let me get into it. It's their fault. They got us into this pickle. Rex Epi's out of contract, is he? I mean, there's an argument then that we sell him because he's our fourth choice left winger. Yes, he's got potential. Yes, he's young, but he couldn't get in the team last year, and we've now signed Michaels. So if we can get good... And that's going to be a decision we're making with a lot of these players. If there's someone who's not quite going to get in the team, we probably do need to be looking to cash in and recoup as much money as we possibly can. So let's... I don't know, do you reckon we could get £20 million for him as a young player with potential? Let's see. £20 million would be handy around about now. This lot, just, yeah, delay decisions for all of those. Let's have a look back in here. Is there anyone we can move on? I think probably as strikers we definitely can, because we've got Gashi. Right, so Gashi is our winger, Thorgerson, Carlos, and then Albert as our striker. So I don't think we need Porras or Akdemir. So let's try and get rid of this guy who's only just arrived and could be a very good striker, but we wouldn't have signed him this year if we'd have had the option. We were trying to bring him in as an emergency stopgap last summer, so let's try and move him on. And then left wing, we've got Van der Hoek and Michaels, so we don't need Pereira or Exepi. Pereira, again, he's one who's got a lot of potential, but I don't know, if we could get £30 million for him, let's try and get £30 million for him. O'Hara and Gashi on this side, so we don't need... Cries, you can play right wing. So we don't need Del Bueno. Similar situation again. So let's say, right, Del Bueno, can we get £25 million for him? We're just plucking numbers out of the air for these players. But if we can sell a lot of them, then we're getting a little bit closer to being able to sort out this problem that's completely inflicted by the board and not me. So central midfielders, we've got Lust, Marquez, Andre, Bartolec, and then it's defensive midfielder, Vermonti and Merker. So we don't have anyone to sell there. Centre-back, we've got Banfalvi, Tigges, Guerrero, Haman. Merker's kind of the backup for all of them, and we definitely want to keep him. Left-back, Krajju and Thumb, and Eduardo is kind of the backup. Dombrowski, Krajju, and then Merker is the kind of... Yeah, so we've picked the ones that we could potentially sell. Now let's see if we can get some offers in for them. If we sell everybody for those prices we've just looked at, that's like half the money we need to raise there. And then straight away, we've got Borussia Mönchengladbach saying, yeah, I'll give you £25 million for Del Bueno. Well, you know what? You can have him for £25 million. Absolutely you can. Salzburg, you can't have him for that price, but 25 million would be very handy around about now. Fingers crossed I can find a way to get us out of this pickle. This could be the greatest football manager story in history. Right, I officially don't understand this FFP thing. We've sold Del Bueno for £25 million, and now all of a sudden, if we go to FFP, we're only projected to make a loss of £22 million for this period. Don't quite know how it's dropped 200 million for selling a £20 million player. But all of a sudden, I'm now thinking, well, if we sell one more, then we're good. Aren't we? I think we might have found a way to solve the financial problems, because I've had this happen to a couple of players in previous series, and the commercial benefits, as well as the fact it's just awesome that this is in the game and that it's all there represented, etc., etc. But from a purely cynical, trying to get some money into the club point of view, he's now going to be our top shirt seller by a million miles. He's one of the best players in the world. We're going to make some money off of this. This is good. Two pieces of good financial news. We've managed to move Porras on for just about what we paid for him. £46.5 million. We sold him for £45.5 million, so we've lost £1 million on him. But importantly, the £46.5 million is on the never never. The £45.5 million is all in one go. So that in itself is enough to put us back into not quite a positive for FFP, but we are back into the green for FFP. We're within the allowable loss. But the other big thing is, as just mentioned, the commercial revenue boost. The commercial revenue boost for Gashi coming out is massive. Does it actually say how much of a boost it's going to be? So Lust is currently the biggest shirt seller. Gashi's sales will now increase. Lust is expected to remain the best seller over the course of the season. But we sold £95 million worth of shirts last year. There's going to be a bit. We might push that into three figures, which is awesome. Rexepi has gone as well as the fire sale continues. £24 million for him. £24 million for a player who was just never going to be in our team. Seems like some jolly good business, if you ask me. The fans aren't happy that I've sold a young player. Well, the fans need to look at the bank balance occasionally, but we are now back in a profit for this current 36-month period. So now it just becomes a case of, let's make sure we do win everything this year so we can move on from this club, and let the next batch of instalments, when they come through and they have to do another fire sale, let that be someone else's problem. And also with the added bonus of, if we do win the league this year and move on and win the Champions League and move on, the next guy in charge is going to have to solve the problem, but also it means some of these players are going to be available on the cheap. So some of these players who we might have thought we'll never be able to bring on, let's say we go to Barcelona, we might be able to bring the likes of Banfalvi and Gashi and Thorgerson with us, because Bayern are going to need to sell them. It's all part of a long-term master plan. Kev's a genius. Well, two pieces of news. News piece number one, we are strong favourites to win the league this year. Good. News piece number two, not so good. It's ticked over to another month, and now all of a sudden a bunch more of instalments have been thrown on here, and we now are £143 million short again, with nobody left to sell. Pereira's probably going out on loan to Hoffenheim. We might have to cancel that deal and try and sell him. And we've sold £161 million worth of players this summer. We need to sell that again. Oops. Well, I've just tentatively offered Antonio Carlos out, and no one's interested. So I think we might just have to reassess this at Christmas. See how we're getting on. If we look like we're going to win everything, we won't worry about it. It can be someone else's problem then. But we are going to quickly play the whatever the Community Shield in Germany is called, the Supercup. We're going to play this game in this video, because I can't actually work out how long the video has been, but I don't think we've done a lot in the way of transfers. So we usually include the Community Shield when we're in England. So let's include this and have a look at our new look team for the new season. And yes, none of the new players are in it because of injuries. Mikel's is in, I think they're all trying to avoid playing against Dortmund. He's injured. O'Hara's injured. The other new guy, Bartolet, I mean, he was not coming in as a first choice player anyway. And of course, the fourth new signing's already been sold. So it's a very familiar looking team, but it's a team that narrowly missed out on winning the Champions League last year. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So Ferron in goal, a back four of Krajcu, Tigges, Banfalvi, Dombrowski, Vermonti at the base of the midfield, Andre and Lust ahead of him, Van der Hoek, Thorgerson and Gashi as our front three. Let's get into the game and let's see just how we measure up against Dortmund this season. That's why this is going to be so interesting. Because obviously, once again, we have ripped 3 very important players out of the Dortmund team. 5, that is, in total, since I've been here in just over a year. 5 of their regular starters we've taken off of them. So we should, I'd like to think, we should be starting to establish ourselves as considerably better than them. But they do seem to have a little bit of a knack of buying cheap players and then selling them on to us for lots of money. I feel like they're just basically our feeder club, but the problem is it's a wrestling. If you like wrestling, they're basically NXT. They're bringing in all these unheard of players / wrestlers, putting on a better product than what I am, and then I'll take those players off of them and not do as much with them. Andre's a perfect example of that. Dombrowski's on the overlap here, though. Can he put us ahead early on? He's danced through the defenders beautifully. It falls to Gashi, and Gashi has his first goal of the season. It's a lovely finish. I'm not quite sure why the Super Cup is taking place at our ground. Is that just considered the national stadium in Germany as well? Or is there a coin flip to see who's grounding it? Is this a 2-legged affair? It can't be, surely. But we've certainly got a home advantage today, and Gashi puts us 1-0 up, and the crowd goes wild. We want a big win today. We beat them 4-0 when we knocked them out of the German Cup last season. We want a similar dominant victory today, because they look like they've got their best players out there. Heleno's in the team. He's their only attacker who's any good anymore, because we've signed everybody else off of them. So we want to beat them at their best and send a message to the rest of the Bundesliga that we're winning it at a canter this year. Van der Hoek is in behind here, looks for a cross, finds Gashi, second attempt for Gashi, and he scores again. 2 goals for Gashi now. He's not only is he selling plenty of shirts, he's started the new season absolutely on fire. 2 goals. He knows he's got O'Hara hovering around ready to try and step in and take his place. It's one of the reasons why I'm not completely against selling Carlos, because if O'Hara is as good for us as he was for Dortmund last year, Gashi might be competing with Thorgerson to play up front as well, and he's certainly started in good goal-scoring form, and Thorgerson needs to be keeping an eye on that. If he thinks his place in the squad is completely secure, he needs to remember 2 of the new players we've brought in are players who can very much replace him in this team. 2-0 on the 40-minute mark, and we're making Dortmund look very, very ordinary so far, and this makes me very happy. Lust with the corner, looking for Tigges. Tigges hits the crossbar, I think, just skimming the top of that crossbar. But we've been utterly dominant in that first half. It was lovely. Don't get complacent, as usual. Complacency, bad. Winning football games against big rivals, good. They've picked up an injury, also good. I'm going to try and get Michels on in this second half fairly early on, partly as a psychological blow to them, and partly because I want to see if he's as good as I suspect he might be, especially because he's an inside forward, and I love an inside. That's Eduardo. That's the wrong man. Let's try that again. That's who I was aiming for. Get him in there as the inside forward. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. What else are we going to do? Should we bring on the other one of their former players as well? Bring on Bartolek to play in the midfield, just to really rub salt in the wound and show Dortmund that we've nicked all your players and we're beating you. Hurrah! I'm taking far too much pleasure in this, but I'm having fun, and that's what matters. We're going to bring Marquez on as the final change in midfield. I assume we can only make 3 changes. Let's try and take Thorgerson off as well. No, it is only 3 substitutions. Unlike the Community Shield in England, where you can make about 32 substitutions. 3 subs max in the Super Cup. But we should still be comfortably on course to win the thing. Dombrowski is charging down the right-hand side, plays Gashi in, who is looking for a hat-trick. Gashi squares it to Thorgerson, and it's 3-0. And it's another former Dortmund man to just hammer home that we've ruined their day. Bless their cotton socks. It really is being played as a home game as well. As 75,000 attendants, only 10% of them are from Dortmund. So there's quite a dominant Bayern influence here in the Supercup. If this is how it actually works in Germany, that seems a little bit biased, a little bit unfair. But I'm not going to argue. I'm the man being biased towards. Therefore, it has to be good. I haven't seen anything of Michel's yet. Or are we going to call him Michel's or Mikel's? I need to know down in the comments. I need to know urgently before I establish one way or the other and it upsets everybody. Ferron making the save there. That's the first real anything resembling an attack we've seen from Dortmund in this game. And they've got money to spend this summer. We've thrown another couple of £100 million their way, so they have got money to go out and spend. As of the most recent check, they haven't gone and spent it. So maybe they're worried about FFP like we should have been, but they're perhaps just biding their time. They'll let us have it this year, knowing that the year after, our squad's going to be disassembled when everyone wants to leave because we're not in the Champions League. There is Mikel's, and there's his first goal for Bayern. Look at him celebrating like a proper scumbag. It's 4-0 to Bayern now against Borussia Dortmund, and that man should not have celebrated the way he just did. He might as well have just ran in front of the Dortmund fans, but he's finished top scorer in the Bundesliga last year, and there's his first goal towards trying to do exactly the same thing again this year. We have a trophy, and this one I think we actually get to keep, and I feel a little bit of vindication now. We've now beaten Hoffenheim and Dortmund in big games since the two of them conspired to ruin our season last year, and I feel very vindicated right now. Well, it seems Tottenham want Antonio Carlos back. As much as it's nice that they're offering to pay his £250,000 wages, they need to actually pay for him. So they need to give us our £90 million back if they want him back. I think that's only fair. We'll see what they say. I think I'm just going to stop worrying about FFP because it seems broken. We've sold Pereira for 18 million, and magically that's fixed the problem again. Let's just let whatever happens, I guess. I don't understand. We've played our first cup game as well, beating Paderborn 7-2 in the first round of the German Cup. Gashi getting a hat-trick. He is in some form to start this season, and Bartolek also getting his first goal for the club as well. Very happy with the way we played, and now we've got a week left before the season starts. The transfer window won't be fully closed by then, but obviously we're not looking to buy anyone new. But we might still be looking to move some players on. But, I mean, we've got £230 million still to spend. It's madness. And that brings us to the end of the transfer special. Transfer window's still not closed. We've got a couple more weeks of that left to try and maybe move on one more player. But that is a summary of our summer. A much more reasonable summer, I'm sure you'll agree. We've weakened Dortmund. We've strengthened our squad in key areas, and we've sold some of the fringe players that we're never going to get in our team to balance the books or go a long way towards balancing the books. Anyway, if we have a look at our long-term projection, we don't care about the long term. We're all right. We're all right for now. Loan transfer debt now 500 million. I mean, to be fair, we could still clear most of the transfer debt out of our balance. So seems logical that we'd just do that. But apparently we're not going to. Look, that's absurd that we've still got that amount of money left. I could have had another £1 billion summer this summer if I'd have really wanted to, but just didn't need to. Our team is that good. Coming up tomorrow, we have our first 2 games of the new season, and I've just noticed, second game of the season, we're at home against Dortmund. That is a massive, massive game early on. If we can do to them what we've just done to them in the Super Cup, we are going to be looking good before we're even out of August, which will be awesome. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.